versus Wolfe.
Koenig versus Wolfe. I'm Doug Wolfe with Clay Koenig, general manager of WAND TV. Great editorial this week. Tell us about it.
Yeah, of course, on the sports side, I'm a huge 49ers fan, and they lost the Super Bowl. But the most important thing is they have that celebration parade down there, and you got 22 people getting shot, one person getting killed. It's almost like an everyday occurrence. In fact, through the first 47 days of this year, we've had 48 mass shootings.
Yeah, which is, I guess, like 4 or more.
Yeah,
so quite a few people. I don't have an answer. I wish I could sit here and tell you we have to do this or that, and it would make a difference. But I don't know what it is. Do you use tougher gun laws? Do you throw people in jail longer? In Illinois, we're going the other way. We're just not arresting people, or we ticket them or something and hope they come to court.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean, we see this stuff all the time.
All right. So when I was talking yesterday, I had a great conversation on this. And we talked about the desensitization of these children because of their first-person shooter games. They don't have the communication skills that you and I had when we were younger because we were out and about. We didn't have computers. We didn't have cell phones. When we had to communicate, we did it face-to-face. It's the only way. Or we can call them on the phone. You can even go back to where people would come over for company, have pie and coffee. Those days are over with. People are too busy. But our lives have changed. Now these kids don't have the communication that they used to have. They're up in their room or down in the basement room all day doing first-person shooter games, so they have that muscle memory. Somebody ticks them off. They really have no realization of the outside world because they're buried in these games all day. And then they go out and they snap. It could happen. I'm sure it has happened like that. I just don't know why. I was a big Call of Duty fan. I haven't played in the last couple of years that much. I would play baseball, football, Call of Duty. And I remember there was this one Call of Duty where you were in an airport, and there was hundreds of people at this airport, and your job was to literally mow them down. I mean, you had automatic weapons, and you just see all these people splatter, stuff like that. And they even gave you a choice if you could have blood before the game or no blood, because if kids were playing, of course, they want to tone it down some. But when you see something like that, it was almost, I couldn't go back to it because it was sickening. I mean, it was one of those things in a game that kind of turned your stomach because if you're thinking about something like this could really happen. And it really wouldn't surprise most of us anymore. This used to surprise us, used to be the big news, all people all over it, for the next month. It happens so often that the crews have to jump from this day to that day.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
The other thing we see, too, do we have to take a break? Why don't we take the break, and then I'll bring up a point when we come back. Be right back.
You're watching Koenig versus Wolfe, and this week we're talking about the mass shooting at the Super Bowl parade for the Kansas City Chiefs. You had a point
I have another point on how to maybe deal with some of this. It'll be controversial. By the way, the only gun game I ever played was Duck Hunt.
Yeah, I remember Duck Hunt.
The dog would pop up. Anyway, I think they need tougher red flag laws. And what the red flag laws is if you have a mental health issue. I think a lot of it is mental health. The one in Kansas City, I think that was gang-related. I don't know that, but it seemed like it was. But in the case of, you had one in Michigan a couple weeks ago where they actually prosecuted the mother, and the mother was found guilty of giving this kid a gun because he was off and should have never had a gun. But hey, he's kind of crazy. Let's give him a gun. Was it was it Sandy Hook or one of these other ones where the guy walked into the school, young man with a history of mental health issues. He killed his parents. He killed a bunch of first graders in the school. These are people that should never be able to touch guns. That Rittenhouse guy up in Wisconsin, going up to Wisconsin with a gun. His parents gave him a gun. He goes up there, he's going to shoot people. I really think you have to have tough mental health laws. If you have a mental health issue, I don't think you should ever be able to own a gun.
But aren't we getting rid of the mental health, like in the hospitals around here in Decatur? I mean,
that happened years ago, yeah, and it is happening because they don't have the money to finance the mental health part of the health care.
Okay, so nobody has any answers. Nobody does because these are random acts of violence.
Solid answer. This will take care of it. No, absolutely not. Because again, you run into something like Kansas City with the Chiefs. That appears to me to be a group of guys who are in an argument with each other. They shoot it up, and they're such bad shots. They don't hit each other. They hit a bunch of kids.
But just the disregard for life in general.
They don't care. No, they don't. They don't care. You know why they will care? I hope they have cameras in the courtroom in Missouri. I think they do. if they're convicted, don't want to convict anybody yet, but if they're convicted, I want to see cameras in the courtroom the day they're sentenced. Because you know what they're going to do? They're going to cry when they find out they have to spend 30 years in jail or life in jail.
You know, I was looking at some of these court laws. They were talking about people, there was this huge like marijuana trafficking bust. They gave the person 10 years, and then there was a murder involved with the trafficking bust, and the guy got 8 years. The trafficking was more than the murder of
You can't figure it, right?
I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to it.
No, and it just depends on the states, too. Because Illinois, I mean, if you commit murder, you're going to be locked up. But some of these other crimes, man, they just, we had a child abuse case here a couple months ago. They processed the guy, they had to let him go because it wasn't on the list of offenses that they could keep him for.
You know, and I never want to admit this, but before that championship parade took place, in my head, I thought, you know, something could go really bad at one of these celebrations like that.
Well, I'll tell you when I was thinking about that. Times Square at New York.
For the ball drop and everything?
How many people do they shove into that small... Times Square is not that big.
No, it's not.
They fit thousands and thousands of people.
Well, look at the guy in Vegas a couple years ago at the concert.
Absolutely. Mandalay Bay, and he shot down at the concert. The thing is, I had been there 2 years earlier, before the shooting, on that side of Mandalay Bay, and they were doing that exact concert. It was in October or whenever. And I was looking down into it, and when that shooting happened, I'm going, oh, yeah, that guy had a clear shot right into that arena.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So what do citizens do in preparation for something like this? I mean, you see the concealed carry laws, you see the gun laws, you know, and this is a totally different editorial as far as, you know, feet per second of the velocity of some of these guns that they have. I mean, some of these guns can shoot through cement block walls. You know, and people say, well, you know, it's a Second Amendment and stuff like that. I get that. I'm a believer in the Second Amendment.
I've got a gun.
But when they created the Second Amendment, it was like a 300 foot per second musket. You want a musket? Go for it. Have a musket on your sidearm. I don't care. You know.
Right. There's no way they'll modernize that.
I know.
There's
just
no
the way
way.
it is.
It's not the political will.
No, it's not. And you know what? Politics should be taken out of it. Law enforcement and military should have guns like that. That's my belief. No one else. I've got a Glock. I've got a handgun. I've got a 30-06. I believe in guns, but if it's weaponry like that, that's cops and military. They run that.
It's a problem. I don't know there's an answer. But this thoughts and prayers, that goes nowhere.
Blah.
Or they'll say, oh, it's too early to discuss it. Well, when is the right time then?
It's happening every day. I mean, if we don't talk about it, nothing's going to get done about it. And we talk about it every day and still nothing gets done.
And not a mass shooting, but on Sunday, this past Sunday, you had 2 police officers and a fireman first responder shot in Minnesota and killed. 3 of them killed.
People just don't care.
No.
They don't care. And it seems like the people that had the most respect, law enforcement, people at the fire station, it's like they have targets on their back now. Yeah. You know, they're a notch in the belt.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know, we had it with Decatur Police and the Macon County Sheriff's Department like a year and a half ago. They just pull a guy over because they knew he had a gun. He's sitting on a gun. They see that, but what they don't know, he's got a second gun in his waistband, and he opened fire point blank range at those cops. How those cops lived, I don't know. It was nuts.
Thank goodness for cops, I'll tell you.
Yep.
Doug, it's a great story. I mean, we could talk about this for
Good
hours,
editorial.
but thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for all your help.
All right, man. Good to see you.
Hey, thank you. You too, Doug. It is good.
It's been a few weeks.
It has been a few weeks.
I know
Welcome back.
I know you've been avoiding me.
I have not been avoiding you.
He's got enough problems in life. He doesn't need me. Oh, there's Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, good seeing you.
All right, you too.